So I recently managed to stumble across EmpLemon's second YouTube channel, which I didn't know he had. Uh, and it was like this video that I believe was called something like "I miss when the internet had less people," and I thought it was a very like interesting, uh, title. And I kind of agree with the sentiment, to be honest, too. But I clicked on it, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty familiar. That's strange." Uh, and it turns out he had a second channel called Downward Diary I had no idea about. I wonder, like, I mean, it probably has never happened because, my main channel is like 80 subscribers. But it would be pretty funny if that was a thing where it's like, oh my god, I had no idea you had a second channel, right? That'd be pretty funny. But usually I kind of put them together anyway. And when I make, what's it called? When I make my, when I make the main channel video, I'm gonna put like a thing at one point that says like, here's my second channel. But that's besides the point. I watched like some of his videos and I found them pretty interesting. It's not just kind of like regular, I guess, like commentary slop sort of thing. It's kind of a similar vein to what I do in a sense, I guess, which like I'm not saying I do the greatest things in the world here, but like, he talks about like meaningful, like interesting topics. And one of those videos I watched was actually something that really, really interested me, which was called "I Don't Enjoy Playing Video Games Anymore." And it kind of is a funny thing, right? Because I literally made a video called "I'm Supposed to Enjoy This." And it was exactly about that topic, about me not enjoying video games. But this was a slightly different take on it. And I kind of found it very interesting. Because he talked a lot about, like, negatives of video games. And I was like, he's kind of not wrong. And it's one of those things where you will get crucified for having those opinions. But it's also like, he's not really wrong. And like, I feel like I know that almost better than anybody as someone who was that person up until like half a year ago. I feel like I know. And I can confidently say that he's kind of right on that. But he talked about a couple of things. So first off, he talked about how they're really time consuming, right? And how they take a lot more of your time than other media. Like if you watch a movie or something, a movie is like 2 hours. And if you watch, even a TV show, if you watch a TV show, it's probably going to be like, I don't know, 8 hours, 9 hours runtime maybe for like a season. I mean, if you watch like the entirety of The Office, that's probably going to be a lot of time. But even then, probably not going to eclipse like Persona 5, for example, right? You play Persona 5, 100 hours of your life are gone. But often video games just take far more time than other forms of media. And that's kind of a bad thing because that's a lot of time. And one of his big kind of points in that video is he talks about how video games are a waste of time, or at least kind of, implying it, I guess. I mean, maybe not implying it. I'm pretty sure he's outright saying it. I haven't watched the video in like a couple days. But that was kind of like a big talking point for him, was talking about how just it's a giant waste of time. And, I, to a degree, I'd agree. For sure. Because not only are you spending insane amounts of time on these games, right? But they're also meant to be kind of addictive and meant to really keep you going. And there's like a bunch of those really cringe gamer shirts where it's just like, just one more level, just one more level, just one more level, just one more level. And like, it just keeps like repeating it over and over again. And man, I fucking hate those shirts. like I've gotten a fair amount of those in my life, and I'm always just like, oh. And this just unlocked a memory for me that I just forgot. This just unlocked a memory for me that I have to talk about now. So I had one of those shirts years ago. I think like my parents or my grandma or somebody got it for me, and it was a shirt and it had an NES controller on it, and it said "Addict." And I remember I was in middle school, and I was wearing that shirt one day, and there was some kid, and he must have been like in the next grade up or something. We were in the hallway waiting, to get in the classroom. And this kid looks at me, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're an addict?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh." And then he like realized what the shirt kind of meant, and he was like, "Oh." But like I think he thought for a second I was like a drug addict or something. Can you imagine? Like, you are addicted to fucking meth or something, right? You're like a fucking meth head, and you just have a shirt just says like meth head or like meth addict or something. It's like, what the fuck? Why would you wear that shirt? Why would you do that? Like, are you proud to be a meth addict? But like, that just unlocked that memory for me, thinking about those fucking like shitty gaming shirts. Wow. I forgot about that. A little off topic there. But the point is, video games are pretty addictive. And yeah, they're addictive. They are meant to kind of take your time in a lot of ways. And I'll kind of circle back to that later on. But they take a lot of time. And that is a bad thing, in a sense. Like, there's no real right way to spend your time, technically. But there are things that could be considered worse ways to spend your time, for sure. And I think video games could be that to a degree. And it's kind of a hard thing for me, because I don't necessarily agree entirely that video games are a waste of time. And it's like, you should be spending your time playing fucking soccer or something, right? Because there are a lot of value in video games, as I'll go back to in a little bit. But it's like, there are things in video games that you can't really get in other mediums, right? And I think, I don't entirely feel like they're just a waste of time. Are you spending your time less efficiently than you could be doing other things? Yes. But I don't know about an outright waste, as I'll go back to in a little bit. But to move along, he also talked about just kind of like the gaming community in general, and like the people that are really like into video games tend to be man children, as he called it. And I was kind of like, it's something that I feel like it would have gotten under my skin a little bit if I had watched the video like back when he actually posted it, not now. But I also can't deny that there's a little bit of truth in it, to be honest. I've kind of not I've evolved past that, but I feel like for a while I kind of was. I don't want to like say I was a man child, but it was like I never really like truly grew up. I was just playing video games all day and not really like improving my life that much. I mean, I was playing Pokemon Go, which also, funnily enough, in that video, he said, I found it very funny. He was like, the one game I do still play is Pokemon Go. And I was like, it's kind of the same thing for me. Because realistically, that's the only like video game I really play. I mean, I guess it's like Pokemon TCG Pocket I play too, but it's like, okay, I opened my pack. Maybe at the end of the video, I'll open my pack. I'll do that, because I don't think I opened my pack today. So maybe I'll do that for some fun, But, yeah. So, I feel like the whole man-children thing, I can see it, especially, like, in some ways, it's very, like, you got, like, a fucking 30-year-old man who's just sitting there, he's fucking crying, he's like, oh my God, they're making a new Zelda game! Oh oh my god, like, you know, every fucking Nintendo Direct or something, like, just fucking. And it's like, I'm not gonna lie, there have been a couple times where I'm like freaking out when I'm watching a Nintendo Direct, but I feel like sometimes it goes a little too far, you know? And it's one of those things where I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? But I definitely agree, because I feel like a lot of the people that are really into video games, or you could even like put this into like the streamers, right? Like stuff people who are on fucking LSF all day. Like, do they have jobs? Probably not. Do they have any sort of like thing going on there? Like, no. They're probably just a NEET, you know, which, if you don't know what NEET means, not in education, employment, or training is what it is. I used to be a NEET, but I'm no longer a NEET because I have employment now. So that's cool. But you know, they don't have any sort of, they don't have a job, they don't have anything they're really trying to do, and they're not really pushing forward to a future. They're just playing video games. And that's what I was doing. So I know that pretty well from experience, that a lot of these fucking people, they don't really have any sort of experience or anything. They're just playing video games as their you know, thing. And he also kind of went into like other stuff, like, you know, talking about the Melee community and Nintendo community, kind of comparing that to other communities like the NASCAR community, where like the NASCAR community really enjoyed the video that he made about, I want to say, I think it was like Dale Earnhardt. I haven't seen that video in a while, but I think it was like something like that. It was a very interesting video. As somebody who didn't know anything about NASCAR, I was like, wow, that was interesting. That was a fun video to watch. But he also made a video about Hungrybox. You know, I think it was like, there will never ever be another player, another Melee player like Hungrybox. And the fucking Melee community apparently was like fucking pissed at him because they didn't portray certain people. He didn't portray certain people in a certain way. He didn't portray other people in another way. You know, he was like demeaning the game when like he wasn't, that sort of thing. And I feel like that's very kind of common in gaming communities, where it's like people will just be so angry about things, and it's like, it's a fucking video game, man. I don't know what else to say. It's a video game. But yeah, it's something where like you don't really want to say that it's true, but it kind of was true. The man children thing, it is kind of true, to be honest. And I feel like it's probably a similar thing, like, you know, Redditors. I feel like a lot of Redditors are like that because, you know, what else are they doing with their fucking time? If they had something worthwhile to do with their time, they wouldn't be fucking sitting on Reddit for like 12 hours a day, you know? Yeah. Aside from that, he also talked a lot about modern gaming as well. And he was talking about Elden Ring, because I guess Elden Ring was the new thing at the time. But to be honest, like, I feel like Elden Ring is like one of the last like big games I remember coming out. Like, holy shit. I mean, I guess there was like some games this year, like Expedition 33. Well, last year is 2026 now. But there was like Expedition 33, but it was like, it kind of wasn't the same thing because it wasn't like from a big studio or anything. It just kind of came out and everybody's like, holy shit, this is a great game. But like, it's not something where you're like looking forward to it for years and years. I guess it's like GTA 6 is like the big thing right now, but it's like GTA 6, by the time GTA 6 comes out, I'll have like 20 children. You know? That's where we're at with GTA 6, I think. But in terms of modern games, it's just, there isn't really anything that's exciting to me, at least anymore. And I was thinking about this, I'm like really trying to think today, what games are going to come out that I'm really excited for? And I think there's literally only two that I can name, like off the top of my head. Just think about like stuff that's going to come out. It is literally, okay, they're going to release a new Rhythm Heaven game this year. I will absolutely play the fuck out of that because I love Rhythm Heaven. And they're going to release Bloodstained 2, which I keep forgetting Bloodstained 2 even exists. But I was like, oh yeah, they're going to release Bloodstained 2. I'll play that. I love Metroidvanias. I love especially the Castlevania side of it. So fuck yeah, I'll play another Igavania, sure. And like apart from that, it's like I really don't care about anything else that comes out. I have a Switch too. I mean, I do want to play DK Bonanza, even though I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna like it or not. But I'm sure it'll be probably fun. But I know like people are kind of mixed on it. Probably won't be as good as Mario Odyssey, but hopefully it could be just something to enjoy. But I feel like modern gaming just really doesn't really connect with me anymore, And I feel like a lot of that is just they're kind of designed to really like siphon your time and your money, because like on the fucking PS2, people still were like, video games weren't truly like mainstream yet. It was still kind of like a hobbyist sort of thing, and it wasn't that big. And now video games are so fucking big that companies are trying to fucking make as much money as they can. And this is what they're doing. They're trying to make them as, addictive as possible. They're trying to make them siphon as much of your time as you can, as they can. And they're also making them a lot more expensive, which is another big thing I was going to talk about here, which is there's microtransactions, there's battle passes, there's DLCs, which, for example, I totally forgot about this until like just the other day. They have that DLC, like the Mega Dimension, whatever called for Legends ZA, for Pokemon Legends ZA. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably like grab that. And I looked at the price, I was like, $30, which I mean, it probably adds a decent amount of content, but it's like I paid $60 for the game. My parents paid another $70 for the Switch 2 edition, which I didn't need. I could have just gotten the little upgrade thing, but they bought it for me. I didn't even know they were getting me a Switch 2. So technically it's $130 already. And then I have to cough up another $30 to be able to play like the kind of intended rest of the game, which is like, wow, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that I could spend in a lot of other places. I could be investing in the stock market right now, which I don't know if I should do that, bro. Things are looking a little crazy right now, I'm not gonna lie. Even as somebody who isn't like terminally looking at the news all day, it's getting a little crazy, dude. It's getting a little crazy. But I feel like modern games are just designed to take as much from you as they can. Whereas before it was like, this is like a hobbyist thing, and this is like something that you just sit down and you enjoy. You pay like $50 or $60, or I think it used to be like 50. You pay $50, you're gonna get an experience, right? And maybe that experience isn't great, but maybe it's good. Maybe it's good enough. And I feel like games weren't ashamed to be what they were back then. Whereas now my Pokemon Go Plus is getting pissed at me because my item bag is full. But as I was saying, compared to I have no internet. Oh, Verizon fucked me again. This has happened for like most of the day. When I woke up and I was looking at my phone, I'm like, it says I don't have internet. That's a little weird. And then guess what? Turns out I did not have 4G. And I got it back when I left the house, and I was like, thank God, it's like perfect timing because I want to, catch some stuff in Pokemon Go. And now I look, it's gone. It's gone. The 4G is gone, or 5G. It's gone. It's all gone. No connection. I'm offline. I'm off the grid. I'm off the grid now. I'm off the grid with 2 phones. Man. But yeah. So I guess it wasn't yelling at me because my item bag is full. It was yelling at me because it was like, where the fuck are you? I can't figure out where you are. Anyways, getting off that topic now. I feel like games really weren't ashamed to be what they were before, and now it just feels like they've become a money-making machine. And I think part of the problem is that games used to be so much more constrained, and now I kind of feel like games are too like polished, which I know sounds like weird. It's like, you don't want your games to be polished, you want your games to be fucking janky. Also, hold on, I can see that the focus is getting a little crazy, so fix that. But you want your games to be janky and fucked up and buggy? No. That's not what I want. But I just feel like games, they kind of have gotten too, like, formulaic, maybe, is a better way of saying it. But just everything has to be perfect. Like, it has to have perfect graphics. It's got to be 60 FPS. It's got to have, all these options and, like, everything. And back in the day, that was not necessarily a thing. I mean, you look at, like, I played a bunch of shitty little DS games, and you look, and half the time there's not even a settings menu, and if there is, you're lucky to see, like, maybe, like, some music and volume sliders. Like, that's where it was at. And they're used to, those constraints really made the games, like, interesting. Because, for example, you had those older Pokemon games, right? I'm thinking, I mean, even if you look at, like, Red and Blue or Gold and Silver Crystal, right? You look at those, and they had to work within a lot of constraints. And, like, there's that whole story about Iwata, where Iwata was, he came in and he, like, single-handedly kind of fucking saved Gold and Silver and Crystal because he figured out how to save a bunch of space, and, like, that was how they fit, like, all of Kanto and shiny Pokemon. What the hell? Why did my phone just get so dark? What the fuck? Okay. Whatever. I don't know if that was just, it's getting dark or what. I'll turn up the brightness. Okay. Not going to heaven today, I guess. But yeah. I feel like that those constraints were really a big deal. Even if you look at, like, the DS games, right? There was a reason why, they were, like, kind of 3D, but they had 2D sprites and all that. And now it's just like, well, now everything is 3D models and free camera and open world and stuff. And it's like, I don't necessarily hate that. I enjoyed Scarlet and Violet a lot. I like that. I think probably, in my opinion, one of the better Pokemon games they've made in, like, a long time. I enjoyed Legends Arceus. I enjoyed Legends ZA. But, like, there's something about where we've gone where, like, it feels like the art style has been very samey. And it's like, well, now it runs at 60 FPS, which is nice. And, like, even on the Switch 1, Legends ZA ran pretty well. But it just kind of feels the same, and, like, it doesn't, it feels like the limitations are how fast they can put the game out rather than what can we do with the hardware to really push the hardware but make a compelling game at the same time. And I think it's one of the things about the original Pokemon that made it so, like, big was that it was, like, a fairly large game for a Game Boy game. Like, a Game Boy game, you could get, like, fucking Castlevania The Adventure. That game is dog shit. That game is horrible. But they managed to squeeze all of that on a Game Boy game, on a Game Boy cartridge. And then they managed to do even more with Gold and Silver and Crystal. So that was pretty big. But now it feels like there's not so big of a jump anymore, which I think maybe is just technology just getting better. But it kind of makes the games feel less interesting because you can't tell that they are really trying to push what the hardware can do. It's just kind of like, well, here's the game. Here's the game. Enjoy. Spend $30 for a DLC, please. And I just feel like the constraints that a lot of games had to go under obviously kind of limited the scope, but it also made it that they had to really understand what they were going for and had to make sacrifices probably too. I mean, there's plenty of videos about like cut content in games because it's just like we don't really have the time, or we can't really afford to do this, not because of money, but because literally the console cannot handle it. And I mean, I guess it's also like, you could say like Silent Hill fog, for example, right? The fog is kind of like integral to the game. And it's funny because it's meant to be an optimization. It's meant to be, well, we literally cannot show all of the level. So let's just put a bunch of fog. But it adds to that atmosphere and the general sense of the game. And I'm pretty sure they like fucked it up in the remake. And it was like the whole level was loaded, so like it wasn't even really well optimized, and they kind of missed the point on the fog. And that, I think, is really an example that speaks to how the constraints that made those games. And now we're just kind of stuck with, well, you know, here's the game. Like, there's not really any constraints anymore. It's just make the game. And I think that kind of hampers creativity a little bit, because there's something to really appreciate when you see games that you know they were made on hardware that was not great, and yet they managed to do something really spectacular with the hardware. And I just feel like they don't do that in modern gaming anymore. There's like, sometimes there's stuff that really pushes things, like, you know, like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, kind of, you know, was a big industry pusher in a sense. And there's been a couple other things like, you know, Expedition 33, even Balatro, you could throw that in there. Balatro, I mean, it just kind of came out. $15, you get a shitload of endless content, one of the best roguelites probably ever made, especially in terms of deck building roguelites. Holy. But it feels like it's hard to really push the hardware anymore, because there is really no limit. I mean, maybe your game runs at like 30 FPS or 40 FPS, but like, there's not really a limit anymore. There's not really interesting quirks that hardware has either, which I think is something else I really liked. Because, you know, say what you will about like some of Nintendo's gimmicks and stuff, like the Wii U didn't pan out, but it was interesting. And now it's just kind of, well, you just got this one big screen and your game is on it, and that's it. Like, most of the time, I feel like gimmicks just don't work anymore. If you want your gimmick to work, you gotta have a whole fucking, you know, dedicated console to it. Because, like, Sony did stuff, it's like, okay, well, here's haptic triggers. Who has used haptic triggers in their life? Like, it has maybe a couple games that I think works well with it. Like, I think, like, Returnal, it works well or something. That's kind of it. Nobody cared. What the hell? What was that? But, anyways, the point I'm really getting at is just that the hardware really is not what it was, which is a good thing in some extent, because it's like, well, now it gives us better games, but it's also a bad thing because it just kind of means that they can just have this ever expanding scope, and it's just rough. But I think that modern gaming is really kind of plagued a lot of just my enjoyment of games at this point. And I can't even tell you about a lot of the stuff that comes out anymore because it's just, I don't fucking know. I don't know anything. But this kind of makes me, or this kind of is where I'm going to segue into giving at least some little positives about gaming to an extent. I have some things to say as well. Because I do believe there is still value in games. I know I kind of said like I kind of agree that video games are a waste of time to an extent. But I also feel like there are a lot of things about video games that are important that other mediums can't do. And I felt this way for a long time. And I think going back to Persona 5, you can watch the animation of Persona 5 or you can read the manga, but you will not get that same experience that you get when you play the game. And the reason for that is because when you play the game, you're making your own choices, you're doing your own things. And, you know, maybe the RPG part of it, it's like whatever, right? That's going to be kind of similar experience to what you get. But it's about knowing like how to spend your time in the game, which is kind of ironic. But you kind of craft your own experience. And even like aside from that, you could say, I don't know, let's say they make like a Castlevania show of Dawn of Sorrow or something, right? Of the Sorrow games. Your experience of you know, Aria of Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow is not going to match what an animation would be able to do. Because you are the guy controlling this character, right? You are the guy who is figuring out where to go, what to do. And that is kind of a different experience than just having the story told to you, essentially. And it really, I think Persona 5 to me is the perfect example because I think the animation just, it as much as it gets clowned on, they literally cannot create that experience. They cannot create that experience in that medium. That is something that only video games can do. And I think that experiencing stories like that, or in a lot of other stories, I mean, there's like, I mean, for example, it's like AI, the Somnium Files. That's an interesting way to tell a story. There's also, what's it called? I mean, it's just a lot of like visual novels. It's an interesting way of telling the story that you can't really do in a lot of other mediums, at least easily. I mean, maybe you could do it in like a book, but you know, the point is there's just so much that you can do to, you know, to make a story interesting in a video game and tell a story in an interesting way compared to anything else. And there's also the fact that they are really immersive, which maybe could be a bad thing because maybe a little addictive, right? But you also get a lot of that control too, which leads into kind of what I was saying before. You could do whatever you want and like nobody could tell you no. And that's really cool. And compared to like a movie where it's just kind of you're watching something and you're seeing something unfold, you get to like experience that. And that's fucking awesome. That's awesome. They're also incredibly rewarding to an extent. You can debate about whether the rewards are actually good or not, but you know, it's something. It feels good to finish games sometimes, and especially Persona 5, going back to it again. It does feel very rewarding and also kind of sad to finish Persona 5 in a way. But like, there's just something about finishing a game that is so much better than like finishing a movie or something. Maybe you could argue finishing a book is rewarding, but I feel like finishing games, there's a different level of rewarding to it that you can't see otherwise in other forms of media. And I also think that in response to a lot of the modern gaming stuff, right? I mean, I've like complained about it a little bit here and there, just talking about modern gaming and like why I don't like it. But the great thing about modern gaming is that you don't have to experience modern gaming. You can just go back and experience the classics. So I've been doing that a little bit, which I'll go back to. But I think I need a drink of water, dude. I can feel it. My voice just like keeps cracking. So, yeah, it happens, I guess. I don't know. My voice is tired. My voice is very tired. Anyways, though, there is, emulation, which maybe, Nintendo is gonna fucking put a bullet in my head for that. But it exists. You can go and play any game on pretty much any system that you want. And that's fucking awesome. I love that. And there's also, you can just go play old consoles, right? Nintendo can't DRM your fucking NES. You can play whatever game you want on that. Or even like your DS. I mean, if you have a DS, if you have a 3DS, you have access to so many fucking games between like the actual like hardware, right, of the 3DS, like all the 3DS games, and then you have DS games, and then even aside from that, then you have all the emulation on the 3DS you could do. You could play a bunch of NES. You could play if you have a new Nintendo 3DS, you can play Super NES games. You can play Game Boy games. You can play Game Boy Advance games. You can play, I think there's even like, there's like a decent amount of like N64 emulation in terms of homebrew stuff. And there's obviously homebrew stuff as well. But like, there's so much you can do on a 3DS. Just the 3DS. Not even, other stuff. But just like a 3DS. Which, I believe like the prices of 3DSs have been going up recently. Because like, people are realizing, wait, this is a pretty good system. And like, we should be buying it. But I got a fair number of 3DSs. So, I'm good. But I kind of wanted to circle back now to just video games. Are they truly a waste of time? Because I was thinking about it. And it's like, if you're spending potentially hundreds or thousands of hours on playing video games, especially like in a short period of time, then yeah, they probably are. Because, part of me doesn't regret the time that I spent playing League of Legends, because I did learn things from playing League of Legends, and I just, I had fun moments. I made friends through League of Legends. But then it's also like, dude, I spent thousands of hours playing League of Legends. Like, I don't even want to know how many hours. And you can't really like know how many. There's like no way to really calculate effectively like how many hours you have officially spent playing League of Legends. But like, I don't even think I would want to see that number, because it would probably just make me fucking like die inside. I'd probably feel like, you're telling me I spent like 30,000 hours playing this fucking game? And that's not to mention that the number that I can see, which is a number I'm a little ashamed of, is you can see how much you've spent playing League of Legends. Like, you can like have Riot send you like a thing about your information or whatever. And I did that once, and I was like, I spent like $2,000 on this fucking game, bro. And I'm still ashamed to admit that. I'm kind of thinking though, I should like just sell the account. Like, if I sold that account for, I could probably get like $200 for that account with like $2,000 worth of stuff on it, bro. I could get probably like $200. I mean, it's $200 more than I had. I don't know. Part of me is thinking like I shouldn't, because it's technically the right thing to do to not sell your account. But like, dude, I could sell my account and I could get money. That's pretty good, no? I don't think I'm ever touching League of Legends ever again. I think I would rather touch meth than League of Legends at this point. You know? At least I could probably have a decent time at meth. Yeah. I think in that case, yeah, I think those games probably a waste of time. You're spending thousands of hours potentially on them. But I feel like if you're only playing it occasionally, you're just kind of doing it casually, and you're avoiding a lot of the ones that are designed to siphon your time, as I mentioned before, right? Siphoning your time, siphoning your money. If you're just playing, I don't know, Return of the Obra Dinn, for example, right? It's like a game. It's not super expensive. You play through it. It's an enjoyable game. And, it does its own thing. And that's it. That, I think, is fair. Because it's not taking that much of your time. And you are getting, a decent experience out of it. It's entertainment. But it's not siphoning you of all those important resources. That sort of is what I feel. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, it is your time. You can spend it however you want. You don't have to be like, oh, well, this guy said video games are a waste of time, so I can't play video games anymore. You can, but it's just, it might be worth to consider that maybe there are better ways to spend that time, That's sort of what I feel. And for me personally, I do still like play video games, but it's not really the same degree, because it's basically just I play Pokemon Go, which currently can't actually play Pokemon Go because here, let me see if I can put it. You see that? You can't really see it very well. But you can see that little thing next to the meter. right there. No connection. Still no connection. Thanks, Verizon. Thank you very much. That's what the kitchen guy at my work says. I love that. Dude, for a while after he was saying that all the time, then I started saying it when I was in the car. It's like every time some guy is like cutting me off or something, I'm just like, thank you very much. And here I am, fucking still saying it. Just sometimes, like whenever I start saying like thanks or something, it just fucking it just comes out. That guy, I love that guy, man. That guy, he is. I'm always so surprised that he just keeps doing that. He has his phrases that he says day in and day out, and he always sticks to it. And I'm like, holy fuck, dude, that's crazy. It's so crazy. He just still does that after all this time. But I can't help but like commend him for it, Anyways, the thing is, like, playing Pokemon Go kind of doesn't really like fill me with the same enjoyment that I once had. Like, I don't feel the same passion I did for the game that I, now I'm just kind of like, eh. It's like whenever I get a new shiny or something, like I get a shiny, I'm like, wow, nice, I got another shiny. Okay. It's like I got a shiny Zekrom from that Kyurem Fusion raid day. And that was one of the things I really wanted. I wanted to get the shiny Zekrom because I didn't have a shiny Zekrom still. I've been trying forever. I got like the Hundo version of it, so I got like the perfect Zekrom, but I couldn't get the shiny. I was like, fuck. And I finally got the shiny, and it was like, yeah, I got the shiny. Have I looked at that shiny since? No. Am I gonna do anything with that shiny? Probably not, because like it's not. The IVs aren't very good. So, but that kind of brings me to my point of just, it doesn't feel the same for me anymore. And even when I play like other stuff, sometimes it's hard for me to enjoy it because I just feel like I'm wasting my time, which is also something that EmpLemon said in that video too. It feels like afterwards you're just like, ugh, like I just kind of wasted 2 hours playing, whatever game. It just doesn't feel good. It sucks. And it even happens sometimes with older games for me because Sunday I had some time. I didn't really know what to do. So I was like, you know what? Let's play some games. So I got my Switch 2 and I was about to start playing Legends ZA and I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I made that Zelda video. So what if instead of playing Legends ZA, I just go play some Link to the Past and I try that out. And I tried it out, and I gotta be honest, maybe I'm just not a Zelda guy. Because, dude, I kind of liked it, but I didn't really like it. And I think a lot of that really just came down to the gameplay just doesn't feel good. Like, I just kind of have to walk around, and the sword play does not, I don't like the sword play. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I'm probably just bad at the game, and if I get good at the game, it won't feel so bad. But I was just like, wow, this sucks. There was like when you get to Zelda and then you have to like get out, there was like this one fucking guard that just kept beating the shit out of me, dude. He was hitting me like, I would have my sword ready, I'd be trying to swing at him, and then it wouldn't fucking hit him. And then I get hit. And then I'm like trying to fucking recover from getting hit, and I'm like trying to hit him, and like I'm not hitting him while I'm getting hit. And I'm losing, I'm like fucking getting hit like 5 times and dying. I'm like, wow, that sucked. Like I think I died at least like 4 or 5 times. Because I was just getting fucking stun locked. I'm like, what the fuck is this, dude? What am I, Hassan? What is going on? So, I just didn't really enjoy it. Then I went back to Legends CA and I played that for like an hour. It was fun, but it was like, kind of felt like I was wasting my time, but whatever. I do think sometimes it's fine to waste time. Like, you shouldn't constantly be having to, like, every single second of every day, you're gonna be doing everything. You're gonna follow the alpha male schedule. You gotta wake up at 5:30. You gotta go for a fucking swim for 4 minutes, staying in the air. You gotta eat some fucking nails for breakfast. And, you have to go to the gym for 12 hours a day. Like, no. I don't think that's a good way to spend your life, just constantly not enjoying your life. But also, if you're just constantly wasting your life, what's the point, That's kind of my problem. And I think this is kind of the part that was the hardest for me, because I wrote a lot of that and it was no big deal. And then I got to this part, and at first I was like kind of feeling it, and then I was like, it just kind of made me feel depressed, I guess. And I was just like, wow, this sucks. Because I think the hardest part of video games is that when you grow up with them, it's really hard to let them go. I think particular because I spend so many hours playing video games, it was just hard for me to like change that habit, because it's like, okay, well, what do I do instead of playing video games? And just kind of left me feeling like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do anymore with my time. But I can't play video games. What am I doing? And it feels like there's a part of like my personality that is just rotting away at this point. And it's kind of a good thing, because like I probably shouldn't have been so focused on video games. But it's also like now there's going to be a void and I don't know how to fill that void. I don't know what to fill it with. And it kind of almost feels like, in a way, that gaming was sort of like a crutch where I was just playing video games instead of doing the things that I should have. And it kind of like almost stunted me in a way where I'm unable to, or I was unable to really like live a normal life for a long time. But on the bright side, I did manage to actually like go and live a normal life, and now I work a job and I drive and I don't play video games for like hours and hours every day. So that's good. But I feel like to bring it back a little bit, I was thinking, do I really need to let go necessarily? And I feel like the answer is not really. I think in some ways, maybe a little bit. I think especially when it comes to watching like videos about games, I feel like I honestly spend more time watching games than playing them at this point. And I should probably just cut that out too. You know, just stop watching that. But it is entertainment at the end of the day. That's kind of what it is, you know? But I feel like I don't really have to stop playing games to, you know, I don't have to stop playing games to be able to do things with my life, you know? And I think really I just kind of need to take more of a break, I guess, from games and just only play them when I want to. And it's like, if I don't want to play games, then I should just try to do something else with my time. Which I was talking about that thought exercise thing. I still got to do that. Just have a list of things of like, you know, yeah, I want to do all these things, and then be like, okay, well, you know, when I don't want to play video games, go do one of these things. But I think that it will really help me get kind of the passion that I once had for games back, and maybe kind of like rework it to an extent, maybe, where I'm excited about playing games again. I'm excited about playing like older games, maybe. Maybe I have some games where I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm going to fucking play this tonight. I'm just going to play this for a while. I kind of want to play like Mario World. I've been getting kind of like a hankering for that almost. Because this might be a little bit of like a gaming sin. I never really played that much Mario World. Like, I did play it. I had the Game Boy Advance version. I did play a decent amount of it, but I never really got far in it. I'd always like get to like the first world or two, and then I would like give up after like the fucking ghost houses. So I never really got into it, and I was thinking like, dude, I just want to like go and like actually 100% the game. I was thinking about doing that. That might be a thing I do at some point. We'll see. But I think if I just take more of a break, it might kind of help me get that passion back to want to play stuff again. And it also kind of helped me figure out how to be spending my time instead of just thinking like, oh, I got to be playing video games when I'm not, you know, doing something important, right? And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. I feel like I need to figure out how to live my life without video games. And that might even include Pokemon Go, to be honest with you. That might include Pokemon Go. Because I feel like Pokemon Go is always such a crutch for me sometimes in like social situations where I just open it up and I play Pokemon Go. It's like, well, guess what? Guess what? You can't play Pokemon Go right now. I'm gonna close out my Pokemon Go. Oh wait, okay, no, I did have it closed. If I open this game right now, look at that. I know it's mirrored and you can't actually read it, but it says no internet connection. I can't play Pokemon Go right now. So that's something that I gotta deal with, I guess, right? To be able to not have that crutch that is something that I can rely on, because it's not always going to be there, and it's not always going to feel the same as it did. So that's really where I'm at with gaming, I think. And I think that EmpLemon video is also a little interesting. Obviously, a little more hot takes than I gave in this video. But it's also like I do kind of agree with some of them. So I guess that in itself is maybe a hot take. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, gaming is what you know make it. And if you waste a shitload of your time playing video games, then yes, it's going to be a fucking waste of your time. But if you actually kind of focus on the experiences that are more interesting and more unique and that actually will give you something, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. That's kind of where it's at. But just, I would say don't play, video games for fucking 20 hours a day. Probably not a great idea. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I have no internet connection, so how the fuck am I going to play Raid Hour? So I guess I'm just going to go home and, like, I don't know, maybe I'll go play the piano or something instead, or work on videos, because I haven't really been... I rendered one the other day, and then I didn't really upload it, and yeah. So, we'll see how it all goes. But I think I would just rather spend my time doing other things instead of, playing video games. Might even extend to YouTube stuff, I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I don't really know what I want my main channel to be going forward. Because it's like I kind of want to keep making videos about games, but I also kind of don't. Because it's like I don't really want to play video games anymore. So I don't know. It's a weird catch-22. I'll figure it out at some point. But for now, I think I'm going to end this here. Because it's almost been an hour. Which I didn't expect this is going to be an hour. I always say that every time. It's like, I didn't expect this is going to go 5 hours. And it does. But, yeah. I guess I just like to yap a lot. Because I don't get to yap much outside of this and, like, therapy. So, yeah. Which reminds me, I also have some homework to do in terms of that, too. I have to, like, plan out the rest of my life. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe I'll make a video about that. About planning out the rest of my life. But yeah, I guess that's it.